Okay, welcome. We're sort of live here. We're live. I'm gonna see if I can get Brianna on here. Let's see how will this do. I'm having serious tech problems today. Y'all know how that goes sometimes. Okay, Brianna, why aren't you coming up here? How about this? Oh, I thought that was gonna work. That didn't work. All right, we're gonna keep trying here to get you in here. Let's see. No, that doesn't work. Oh, here we go. Maybe this will do it. Maybe this will do it. Are you come on? Yeah, there she is. Can you hear me? Can you hear?
Am I here? There we go.
Okay, you're here. Woo. Wow. You know, I got a little too fancy for myself. I had some little graphics. I had pages over here, and they upgraded the streaming software, and poof, threw me for a loop. So, anyways, we're here. We are here, sort of half kludged together. Kind of things aren't really kind of meshing, but we're going to talk some crypto. So, how you doing, Brianna?
Yes. Oh, I'm good. Glad that I'm finally up here. Am I able to be heard?
I don't know. Let me see.
Right now, everything's looking a little.
I'm pretty sure I can hear you. Let's see. Let's see if I can hear you on my phone.
If you're watching, and if you're in the chat, feel free to comment and let us know. We're having a rocky start here, but I'm great. I'm glad to be back. If you can hear me, I'm glad to be back. We missed last week.
I think you're good.
Okay, Scott was in a mastermind type event last week, so we're back in action. Glad to be here. And to be honest, this is not my first technical difficulty of today. Sadly, this morning, I spilled about 3/4 of a cup of coffee on my laptop.
Oh no!
So that was the beginning of my day.
Really, a 3/4 cup, like right on your keyboard and everything?
Right on it. Yep, right in all of it. And
what are you using? What are you using now?
Well, every week when we stream, I'm using like this dinosaur Mac computer because it's the only computer I have that will allow your software to work. But the computer that I write with, that I do all my work with, I'm currently writing my first book, might be toast. So thank goodness that I have most of my stuff online, saved on Evernote. Thank you, Scott. You saved me with that one by introducing me to Evernote.
Yeah.
So
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it kind of fits in with crypto. I mean, crypto is basically tech. It, and it is interesting because I do say that sometimes, to people. It's like, it's almost less of a currency than it is tech. It's just tech, is what it is. It's a software code. And sometimes that's actually really hard for people to grasp. And actually, most people don't even think about that. And in the future, hopefully, we won't have to think about that. But now we really still do. And, you know, yeah, if you can't get onto your laptop, I mean, thank goodness we were smart about it and there are back doors and you can get on your phone or whatever. Because if your laptop was really toast and you had to get your crypto out, I mean, that's the thing. So you have it on your phone, have a wallet on your phone, and the nice thing about having seed phrases and your own wallet is then you can load it up on a new computer, type your seed phrases in, and go. So there's always a lesson
Right.
to be tied into crypto.
There always is, for sure.
Oh, sure. Well, let's see. What are we going to talk about today? I've got a little bit of everything. I've got a little bit of, I mean, we're going to have to talk a little bit about Silvergate and some of the stuff going on there. What else? Let me grab my notes here. We're going to talk about Bitcoin a little bit. The markets are a little rocky right now. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to talk about my Starbucks, or not my Starbucks, but Starbucks NFTs. And what else? I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about liquid staking, and I've got one here. It's the 5 major threats to crypto currently. So we'll look at that a little bit. Actually,
Cool.
I think the Starbucks one is kind of positive. I don't know. Do you have good ones today? You have any good ones?
I do. I have an interesting one. Well, first, we'll be going over some important dates in March when it comes to crypto. I wouldn't say that one sounds so positive. Maybe positive to get out of the way and positive to have an understanding of those dates. But I also have a little bit on an idea surrounding a Bitcoin-backed stablecoin. So I'm going to bring that one to the table, which I thought that was exciting.
Yeah.
And I have another one. I can't remember what it is, but we'll get to it.
We'll just say it's positive. Hopefully, it's positive. We got to stay positive here. We got to keep our spirits high because things are just moving fast up and down. All right, so this could be the next thing if I can go to the screen sharing part. Let's see. Cross our fingers. Okay, right now nothing, but let's see if I can do this. Okay, that didn't work, but maybe this. Okay. We can do this. Okay, there's your screen. Oh, what if I did this? I'll just make it bigger. There we go. Okay, cool. We're getting there. Stay with us, folks. Okay, there you go. We got Powell. It looks like Powell's head. Oh, you're in the green room. Oh, jeez. All right, hold on. Yeah, I don't know if this can work. Let's see. How about that? Okay, nope, you're still in the green room. Okay, hold on. We're gonna go back here. We're gonna get rid of. Oh, jeez. Okay, now you're still in the green room, but we're getting close. Where are you? Oh my goodness. You're not guest one. Oh, okay, I hear you. But let's see if we can. Oh my gosh. Can you go ahead and speak? I know I hear you. I'm hearing you.
Okay. I am here. I actually was speaking for the last few minutes, trying to put some sound to the silence.
If you see yourself when you're in the green room, I don't know.
It said I wasn't on there. I didn't realize that.
Room. Okay,
there we are.
We're gonna go without sharing screen. We're gonna have to just talk today. So
okay, that's okay. Well,
okay, go.
So there's 4 important dates to pay attention to in March. First date, well, we kind of had some action happen last week. or that was this week. But the important dates beginning with today, March 10th, this is when the job data comes out, and it's also the day when Mt. Gox creditors are due to receive their Bitcoin. So this could result in sell pressure hitting the market. Something to be aware of. I haven't looked at the market today. Maybe you have, Scott. See if
it's a
move.
yeah, it's a little. I mean, it bounced back a little bit from yesterday, but everything's still down. So, are you going to tell us what Mt. Gox is and what that all means?
Why don't you take it away? I know you got
Come on.
You're way better at conveying that than me.
Well, yeah. So Mt. Gox was. I don't know if I can remember the date. I think it was 2016, and or no, maybe even earlier than that. But anyways, it was the first Bitcoin exchange, Mt. Gox, and or the largest. So it may not be actually the first or whatever, but at the time, it was the only place that you could trade crypto for the most part. And anyways, it got hacked, and there was a lot of controversy around it, but got hacked for billions of dollars in Bitcoin, and so it's been in legal battles ever since. And so there are, I don't know if you have the coin, the number of coins that are about to hit, but there's going to be like, is it 3 billion worth of Bitcoin that's about to hit the.
See if I can find the number here while you're
So
talking.
what it is, yeah, and it is significant because basically a big sum in the billions will now be returned to users that haven't had it for, it's been stuck in litigation for, I don't know, 8-10 years, right? So now all of a sudden they're going to have this. So the question is, right, are they going to sell it right away? They're like, oh my God, I finally have this. I'm going to sell it and be done. Or are they true believers and they're just going to keep hodling it and it'll be fine? So that's kind of the market's a little nervous because they, 3 billion hits or whatever it is. Again, a lot of sell pressure. So yeah, that's a little bit about that one. And what was the other one? So continue on there. There was another. There are others. There's a lot of sell pressure news. A lot of like it could happen or it may not happen, and that's the market's kind of queasy right now.
Yes. So the other one that was today is the job data comes out.
Okay.
And then we're moving on to March 14th and March 15th, both of those dates. The CPI data and the PPI data come out in the US, which will show us where inflation is at currently in the country. And if inflation has gone back up, that is not a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole thing. The markets are just nervous right now about everything. And then you throw on the silver gate, the banks and the crypto banks kind of going under going under, some of them. And it's just a weird time because I have this weird feeling that the market kind of wants to rally. It's like, hey, we've been, in a bear market long enough. We want to get going, but there's just all these economic issues that are going on, and specifically the things about the crypto banks. That the good news is that none of this is like it was with like FTX or that it had immediate crashes. Other than the Silvergate, I think it's Silvergate bank finally within today or yesterday officially going bankrupt, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But other than that, these are things that may or may not affect the market or not. So it's just kind of the crypto market specifically. But the economic factors are pulling all the stock market down and everything. So Bitcoin is following more and more the stock market, and that's another interesting trend or non-trend because it seems like a month ago there were a bunch of articles out saying, "Hey, Bitcoin's decoupling from the stock market," and then now it's back to coupled again. The market's down again because of all the macroeconomic news and the numbers coming out. So, and I think that the question, are we in a recession or not, which I don't think it matters anymore because the numbers are all over the place. And we've talked about this before, Brianna, that both you and I, we didn't pay attention to these numbers at all for the most part, right? We could care less. They come out and you see them on the financial news, which I assume both of us didn't watch before, and now we care about these because it affects crypto, and that's our area, and so I think that's a good thing, and it's something that I like to talk about because I just think it's really good and healthy for everybody to be at least aware of what's going on in the financial markets and how economies, worldwide economies, affect things, and just being able to pay attention to things like the war in Ukraine or whatever, and how that's going to affect macro, and our tension with China and how that's going to affect everything, because it really does affect every part of our lives, including our financial lives. And I chose for the longest time to kind of ignore that. And I'm not saying to get obsessed about it, because some people can, and you can go down these rabbit holes. You can get really obsessed by this stuff. But I think a healthy awareness, which I think both of you and I do, is just we're kind of aware of it. And if you're in, the way I look at it is, if you're either financially invested in something or you're just interested in it, because I love crypto, about both saying crypto is interesting and fun, but it's also a financial mechanism for me. That it makes sense to holistically just pay attention to what's affecting it. Because and this is the thing, I keep going on and on about these different things, but if the people that totally only rely on their phone to invest in Bitcoin or crypto, and they don't really understand about how the crypto world works, then things like Bitcoin going down, they're like, well, why? Or if the economy is going down, and do they understand that they're tied? Or sometimes they're not tied together, right? So all this stuff fits together, and I think it's just interesting. Do you have any more data on that, like the numbers, or did we finish?
I do. Well, I do. Well, we kind of can go into the projection of the expected rise in interest rates, and that's going to be coming in on March 22nd. I don't have the exact numbers as far as the data that comes out on the 14th. However, on the 22nd, there is an expectation for what that rise will look like. So that's going to be the Fed meeting on the 21st, and that's kind of the big one. At least I think it's going to be kind of the big one that people are waiting for, where Fed officials will decide on how much they will raise the interest rates by, and where inflation is at in this country. So I went the wrong thing. Sorry, guys. So what was initially expected was a 25-point raise, which is still a lot. But now it's looking more like it's going to be a 50-point raise, which is significant. And that's what will cause a pretty big impact on people not wanting to hire on new people. And so for employment is going to take a hit with that. We'll see probably some more layoffs, less spending money, just less liquidity in general. And then kind of to cap off that statement, Jerome Powell came out with a statement this week stating that the latest economic data have come in stronger than expected, which suggests that the ultimate level of interest rates is likely to be higher than previously anticipated. And his remarks prepared for two appearances this week on Capitol Hill, stating also that if the totality of the data were to indicate that faster tightening is warranted, we would be prepared to increase the pace of rate hikes. So, and it's just, there's a lot of signs pointing to that 50-point raise. So I think that's going to, I don't know. I feel personally like people are now expecting it, who are really paying attention to it. So maybe by the time that it hits, there'll be a little bit of, it won't be such a shock. So it might not cause like a super drastic impact, but I think it will, because of the effects, I think there's going to be less liquidity for people to be able to just want to put into the market.
Yeah, I think that's always interesting about how the market is always, a week ahead or months ahead, and it's on the future or what they think the future is going to do. And so I think that they, the Fed, they've been doing this a long time now, but they never come out and just drop a number on a certain date. They always do what they're doing now, which is hint at what's going to happen because they don't want that big crash to happen. So by the time that the news will come out next week, the market will probably already factor it in, and so it's already down this week on all that pre-news, pre-announcements, and all that stuff that they do now. So when the number drops, I don't expect a lot, and that's kind of how it happens now, unless something, if there's more bad news on top of that, like, a big tech company or something, has terrible earnings or, something like that. But yeah, and that's the funny part. It's all over the place, and again, neither one of us are experts in this. We're kind of, almost playing catch up a little bit, but, we both pay a lot of attention to all this stuff now. And it's just interesting how to me, I'm sort of getting a handle on kind of how these things happen, month to month, year after year. But it's just all over the place, because it's like 6 months ago, there was some optimism, like, yep, Fed's got it under control. Interest rates are gonna drop, and of course, the new year comes and markets looked really good, and people were like, excited about 2023, and now, the reality's setting in, and I thought it was really confusing because you had interest rates that were kind of coming down, but not as fast as the Fed wanted it to, and so they're like, oh, okay, well, if it doesn't come in fast enough, we're gonna have to continue to raise rates, and so that pushed the market back and forth. It was like, okay, they came down a little bit, so market kind of rallied, and then the reality is like, oh, but they're not coming down fast enough. So then the market went down because they're like, oh, that means they're going to raise, a higher rate again. And so it's just so funny how it's just up and down, which is a good time to point out. This is why both of us are long-term investors for the most part. And, it's like, it's just interesting. And I think we keep up on it only to kind of just get a flavor of how things are going, right? Because I don't really care that much about Bitcoin's price other than where Bitcoin goes, the rest of the stuff goes. But again, I'm not a big altcoin investor. And I know I'm going to keep my Bitcoin around forever. So really, whether it moves up and down, up to that 20, 25, and I paid attention. My phone buzzed at me when Bitcoin dropped below 20,000, and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, I don't care. It's like really funny how it's just conditioned in my phone beeped, and at first I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, I don't really care. And all of it, I'm waiting for the DeFi market, which I'm still in, getting 20% on the average, my money. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. But I know that as the market finally gets back to a bull market, that 20%, there'll be some farms I'm going to make 100%. So I'm anxious to get there too. But I don't really fret it that much because I'm in it for the long term. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And it's also, it kind of just goes to show that shift in perspective as we start to pay attention to the macro. And then when we are in, the timing is everything, or it's a lot when it comes to an investment. So if you're not knowing what's happening, like I was for a long time, where I was getting in, in the last bull run at certain points, with some of those altcoins, and then that went, and then I'm like, well, what's happening now? Why is everything down? But like now with this, when you pay attention to the macro, that certain things and what's going to come back around, and when a likelihood of that may be in the few years coming. And then you can look at these times as opportunity. And it just removes that worry and that question of like, what's happening? So yeah, that's why I find it important to pay attention to these the rate hikes and all of those things. And I just am fascinated by the macro and how it all works. And it's really all interconnected, and the world is much smaller than we think.
Totally.
So yeah, it's fascinating. But anyways, do you want to shoot over to one of yours next?
Yeah, let's shoot over one of mine. Yeah, since I don't even know if I'm going to be able to share. Let's see if I can. We'll just see if it's gonna. Yeah, I guess it did.
Oh, yep, I can see it.
Okay, so let's start with the Starbucks one. Where is that one?
So the Starbucks one is up. However,
yeah, it's sort of partly up. I wanted to see if I could get it. Okay, there it is. fuller screen here. It's actually just interesting. So I'm a huge Starbucks fan. I go to Starbucks every day. I work out of Starbucks. I'm there 3 or 4 hours just about every day, even on the weekends. Uh, the baristas are my family. They all know I know their stories. They know my stories, and it's a lot of fun. And I've done it in multiple cities. So Starbucks just hires really good people, I think. Anyways, and I like their coffee. Coffee aficionados, kind of snub their nose at Starbucks coffee, but my body's used to it. It likes it. So they started this, and I looked into this at least 4 or 5 months ago, and they started a loyalty program. And I am like, the funny joke inside the Starbucks is that I have more stars than anybody in the world because I save them up, and I'm there spending money every day, and so I've got all these stars. And when this came up, I thought, oh, I got to get on this, because basically they had a loyalty program that was NFTs based and in that whole thing. I'm like, this is right up my alley. And somehow it got off my radar screen and I didn't sign up, or I either signed up and there's a beta, which I didn't get on or whatever. And so that was then. So now that was really popular. People really liked it. And I'm not even sure how it actually worked. I'm anxious to get back on the list and see how it works. But here they finally put out their own NFTs, and they started at $100, and they're on the Polygon network, and they sold out super fast. There was like 2,000 of them, I think, and they sold out super fast. And so I looked today to see what kind of prices, whatever, and already on OpenSea they were about $300 to $600 per of these stars. And they're basically this, their siren. There are different takes on this image or whatever. And so I don't know how many of each or whatever. I don't know if it even says in here, but without going into that a long time. But limited siren, edition siren collection. So it went on, I guess it went on sale yesterday at 3, but by the end of the day, I think it was sold out. So
that's pretty cool. I love that image. A super mermaid, it says.
I do too. And so I thought I'm going to get one. If I could get it for $100, I would have got one. And so I'll have to pay attention and see if I can still get one. All right, let's do another one here. This is just a quickie. So liquid staking is kind of interesting. And yeah, we're just getting the headline. So liquid staking replaces DeFi lending as the second largest crypto sector. I don't think there's any good images in this one. So I just think that's interesting because liquid staking is basically where you can use a decentralized exchange to stake your Ethereum-based coins. It's Ethereum, but it's also any other Ethereum-based proof of stake. That's what I was trying to say. Network. And so instead of having to, stake 32 ETH to become a validator or whatever on the other blockchains are that are proof of stake, you can do these for $10 if you want. And it's so simple. You just go and log into the decentralized area, connect your wallet, say I want to, But what's even cooler is that staking sometimes seems confusing. Like, well, how do I do that? And traditional staking might be a little bit, but those are people that want to be validators, and that's not what we're talking about here. We're people that want to earn 3 or 4 or 5% on the cryptos that they're going to be keeping in their wallet anyways. So now you can put in $100, and all you do is swap it. This is the amazing thing. You go into Uniswap and you swap your ETH for our ETH in the case of Rocket Pool, and I think Lido is wrapped ETH or I think it's Steth. And that's, so you're basically just going to Uniswap, you swap out ETH for whatever this liquid token is, and you're staking. And it's a pretty good way to make 4%. And it's probably the safest way right now. Again, it is now a decentralized application that could get hacked or whatever, but you're not relying on an exchange, right? That could go under like an FTX. For most people in crypto, it's a much better way that you want to invest because you're in more control this way. So
that's so true. And like you said, what's so great about this, what's so great about staking is when you're doing this, it doesn't require a minimum, right?
Right.
So it's like with many investments, you have to have, there's a minimum amount to be able to be involved. And that's what's so great about staking. I also saw this article. There was an NFT. I found this to be really interesting. And sorry to pull away from what you were just saying, but there's a house listed in Texas that was an NFT. And a combination of investors can come in. And so like, say I put $100 into this, I can then be able to receive monthly rent back to myself on my initial investment on this house that's an NFT with multiple investors, which I thought was so cool. Because there's so much more opportunity there for, all of a sudden you're somewhat of you're not a landlord, but you're a property owner in a way, micro, I guess, property owner.
Yeah, micro, or I guess they call it fractional ownership. And, it's the same thing with a Beeple, right? Think, any NFT now can be owned by one person or divvied up or whatever. So you have all these fractional NFT ownership plans. And what's cool is the promise of NFTs and really crypto in a way, tokenizing everything, right? And that's starting to happen because, when I first got into crypto, pretty heavy, even 2 years ago, there was a lot of talk about real estate and other contracts becoming, NFT tokenized. And, but I hadn't seen any, and now it's starting to happen. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. And so there are just lots of other ways to participate in the crypto market. And that's why I'm always now using the word ecosystem. I'm just, as much as I can, especially when I write, I always use the word crypto ecosystem, because to me, that's what I'm in love with, is the ecosystem. I'm not in love with, Bitcoin or any altcoins or, NFTs by themselves, but what all of it brings. And sometimes I really wonder, am I in love with blockchain really? Or crypto? Or are they the same? Or are they different? I don't know.
I think it's all of it. I think that you're like absolutely fascinated with all of it. And I think that no matter where, like, I just see it within you, like everywhere you start to dive into, you're just like in awe. I love it.
Yeah.
Love watching it.
All right. So what do you got? What else do you got?
Okay. Well, that actually leads to another point. So I want to get into that stable coin backed by Bitcoin. I found this really interesting. Arthur Hayes, he's the co-founder, or he's the founder of, and I think he's the CEO of BitMEX. And now he's the co-founder, and I don't know if he's still the CEO. Sorry. He was the CEO. Is he still the CEO? I think he is. I'm confused on that part. Arthur Hayes, I've heard his name so much, but I didn't quite ever know who he was. Are you aware of who he is, Scott?
Well, I mean, he was the founder of one of the early exchanges, I believe. And he was in jail. He was in jail for a long time, and he just now is getting out, right?
Yeah, so BitMEX is the exchange. And I started to read on this guy, and I was like pretty interested last night because I just love this. He's from Detroit. He did not have an upbringing that was, he had a poor upbringing, didn't have a lot of outlook for opportunity, so now he's a self-made crypto billionaire, which I think is just, I love that story. He went to college at a university, I think he kind of got some technological background through some of the things that he took, and then he went out and launched this BitMEX, which is a long time ago, but he was like literally sleeping on friends when it wasn't going to succeed, and it did, which I found to be really interesting. So he has proposed, and he put out an essay type paper, something called a Naka dollar. That would be the name of the stable coin, which would be backed by Bitcoin and Bitcoin derivatives. And that would be for Satoshi Nakamoto, the Naka dollar. And that took me a minute to get that. Yeah. So the token would not rely on a centralized entity such as a bank, and instead would be supported by member crypto exchanges that list inverse Bitcoin perpetual swaps, a derivative product that is traded and settled within the underlying asset. And I think there's a lot of math as far as who I was listening to, who were trying to like get down with and try to understand this fully. And I think it's kind of a difficult concept to understand, but it's different in that it's not backed by fiat. And the goal of it is to decentralize the industry outside of the regulatory perimeter. And what he stated, one of his statements from Arthur Hayes was, "We, the crypto faithful, have the tools and the organizations needed to support $1 trillion or more worth of NACA USD outstanding." He wrote this on Thursday in his blog post. And then he says, "If this solution were embraced by traders and exchanges, it would lead to a large growth in Bitcoin derivatives, open interest, which would in turn create deep liquidity." Also stating that this would help both speculators and hedgers. It would become a positive flywheel that would not only benefit the member exchanges, but also DeFi users and anyone else who needs a USD token that can be moved 24/7 with a low fee. So there's a lot that goes into this. And I was listening to, part of why he's doing this, the main reason why, is the demand for stablecoins, the importance of them within the ecosystem, as we all know how much they're utilized. And what he states here is, with the growing demand for stablecoins that aren't tied to traditional currencies like the US dollar or euro, that this is why he's proposed this. Because as we're seeing this great crackdown on stablecoins regulation that I think will be nearly impossible right now to be able to just bypass and get around. So I don't know, do you have any thoughts regarding this at all, Scott, before I give some of mine?
Well, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer because, any fully crypto-based stablecoin, I just don't know how. Like, if I believe that Bitcoin's going to be around a long time and that it's has good value, then I like that concept. But if it's so volatile, I don't know how they're going to keep, like, when Bitcoin drops 50, 60, 70, 80%, how are you going to keep the value? Or does it matter? So again, I don't really know the details, but that's what got all those hedge funds and FTX and all that stuff in trouble, is that they were making money hand over fist when the market was up or when Bitcoin was up. And then when Bitcoin fell that much, all their collateral ratios went down and they all defaulted. And so how's that gonna work in the stablecoin thing? But I don't know. I think what it made me think about was regulations coming hard and fast. And the question is, in a few years, up to 5, let's say, what will crypto look like? Will it work out? Will we work this out so that we can really have this future of finance that's not a repeat of the old traditional world, but has some controls in it and some regulations in it, but is still different? Or are we just going to continue like two separate worlds where crypto is going to go off, be completely offshore, completely decentralized, kind of not a mainstream thing for sure, at least in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, there's that option. Now, the good thing about that is either way, people like you and me win, because if it flourishes and it connects within traditional finance and the regulations, we can still do what we do as just retail investors, then we're good. If it splinters off and becomes this completely decentralized, kind of completely non-regulated thing, you and I will still be good as retail individuals for the most part, because we can still buy and trade in our crypto, because that will still be available in a completely decentralized world. And it made me just think about this whole concept, this bigger concept that I sometimes think about, which is, there's almost like two worlds in the crypto world. There's this institutional move and all the things that they're doing, and it captures a lot of attention in the news. And what I like to do is bring it back to people like you and me, the retail investor, just the little individuals that have got, a couple $1,000s in here or whatever, right? None of that stuff really matters to us, other than it does drive the market, when these big institutional investors come in and they either succeed or they fail. These big banks that are failing now. I mean, what do I really care? Well, the one reason I only care is because if there's, and this is kind of moving into a different topic, but it's the same thing, which is like when Silvergate is the bank to Coinbase, and every business has to have a bank, right? Right? You have to have a bank to do transactions. And so it's not like Silvergate's investing in crypto or anything. It's just that the fiat that Coinbase has, they have to be able to onboard that and have a bank. And so now with Silvergate going under, they were one of the banks that allowed crypto businesses. They liked having that business. But there are a lot of banks that don't want anything to do with crypto and won't lend money and let a crypto business deposit their funds in there and become their liquidity provider. Not crypto. I'm just talking about straight fiat, right? So there's another tech bank. What was the other one there that's in the news now? And it's Silicon Valley Bank, I think what it's called. And it basically lends to high-tech companies, right? Well, high-tech companies now are volatile and their price is down. So that bank is starting to have problems. So that could happen where crypto companies don't have banks to bank. And so it's just going to shrink everything down. So that's one of these contagions, one of these problems that we're going to have to watch that is making the market nervous. Like what's going to happen if no one's going to let bank with crypto companies? So all of this kind of gets back to this, because this show is really about, individuals and small time investors. And I think that's a good thing to sometimes think about. And I know sometimes we can get caught up in CBDCs and this, that, and the other thing. And one of the questions I try to ask myself when I get wrapped up in this stuff is really, it's like, okay, right here today, how is this affecting me? Can I still trade in Bitcoin? Yeah. Do I still have my decentralized wallet that, can't get hacked or can't, be controlled by the government? Yeah. Can I still trade in DeFi? Not trade, but can I still, put my money in DeFi and earn a decent percent? Yeah. And then I look like 3 months out. What's going on right now that 3 months out could affect me right now? And there's very few things that would happen in 3 months, except for, a crash. But even then, I'm not in centralized, so even if some of these big companies crashed, I still got my decentralized wallet, right? That I can pull my crypto out of. And there's always going to be a place where I can buy and sell Bitcoin, right? So really, there isn't much to worry about, for you and me. And all this stuff that we talk about and, and a lot of different things that's in the news, is interesting. It's all kind of connected like we started at the beginning. But in the end, at the end of the day, if you and I just want to trade in Bitcoin or, Ethereum, maybe buy an NFT here or there, play in the metaverse, I don't think anything's going to not allow us to do that for the next year at least. And my hope is that just gets easier and better and better. But even if it doesn't, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, and that's important. I think that's good to state too, because it's easy to get wrapped up in and feel like you don't have a lot of say too for how it's gonna go. And that's why, Coinbase rolled out just last week. I was going to bring this forward. Last week, they rolled out a grassroots campaign. I think it's called, I have it here. I think it's called Grassroots 435.
Okay. I heard something about, I got them confused because Coinbase came out with their layer 2 blockchain, their own blockchain on layer 2. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And what else?
They've been on it. They have been on it.
So what is this grassroots thing? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh, it's called Crypto 435 campaign. And it's intended to grow the crypto advocacy community and share tools and resources. And this is important, I think. I signed up for it. So what they're going to do once you sign up for this to be a part of this campaign is Coinbase will then provide people who sign up with information about how to contact specific politicians in their local districts, what those politicians' records on crypto are, and tips for making your voices heard in DC and more, which I think is so important because so often we're sitting here angry and frustrated and wanting, we're like, oh, it shouldn't be this way. But we can't take the simple steps of like writing to our politicians. And it's always stated, people are like, how can we do like have any part of this? And people are like, write to your local politicians, find out what it is that these politicians are supporting, make it known that you're not going to stand for this because they want to win their next election. That's all they really care about. I mean, they care about other things too, but they want to win. And there are little ways that we can take action. So that's what this campaign is about. And cool. I did sign up for it, and I'm going to make myself be active in it, as hard as it is to want to want to take the time to do something like that. It's important.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's true. And it's funny. It's like we're kind of on the opposite ends. Like right now, excuse me. I kind of want to put my head in the sand and say, you know what? This isn't going to bother me. You guys don't exist. I don't care what you guys do. You guys go play. As long as I can get my Bitcoin, I'm good. And you're like, okay, we got to fight for this. We got to talk to our congressman.
No, I don't see it, but I'm the same way. I don't want to be like submerged and like, I never want to get to a point where I'm like, I wish I could have done, like, is there anything I could have done? Like, I want to be like, okay, like I wrote a letter. Okay. But I'm not as submerged into it as I have been because I think there's just more focuses. I think it's going to be a forever game of cat and mouse. I don't think that there's always going to be something that people that don't want to be controlled are going to create and find value in and share. And then there's going to be control wanting to take it. I mean, I think it's just a never ending game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is. And and I think that, one of the things that gets forgotten too, especially with Gary Gensler and the SEC and all these regulatory stuff, none of that really matters. I mean, it does, but it's the laws. It's Congress passing laws that will, make or break this stuff. If Congress got crazy and they just said, look, this crypto thing's getting out of hand, it's done, outlawed in the U.S., which they could do, then there'd be no arguing or no nothing. Right now with the regulations and stuff, yeah, okay, they can make it hard on certain businesses, but it's the law. So writing your congressman and all that kind of stuff is actually a more productive in the end. Yeah. So, all right, Jay, what else do I got here? Talked about Star. Oh, there's this one that just, okay, let's do this one. Oh, it's kind of negative, but there's one that was, have you heard of this ER437? It's a whole new Ethereum, what do they call those? Like ERC 720s and all that stuff that created NFTs. There's a whole nother one called ER4337. And now that I've talked about it, I guess I got to go into it a little bit. So let me get it up here.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
Okay. So it's...
let's hear it.
So this is actually part of, I think it's an outcome of the whole Ethereum upgrade that they're going through, and so part of it is there's a new, it's going to allow some improvements, some things that are going to make crypto better and easier for people, and some of it is a way to recover lost private keys, so that's cool. It's going to be securing wallets without a seed phrase. That'll make it easier, and you'll be able to use a two-factor authorization, like with a fingerprint or a facial scan. I like that. Carrying out payments and setting time-based spending limits. I don't know, but you can set monthly spending limits on a wallet. So it's just it's integrating the wallet more into the protocol and allowing developers to integrate into the smart contracts more features and functionality. So it's a good thing. It says, why does this matter? The upgrade allows a lot of the same features that banks offer with that not trusting a bank, not being a bank. So this is cool, actually, news because these are the things that really matter to a lot of people. Is it making it easier to use crypto? So this is going to be good. Now we'll just see how it gets implemented. I don't know. Sometimes these memes, I don't really get this. I mean, I get it, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, is that even funny, really? I don't
Oh,
know. It's like,
okay, I get it
I
now.
don't know. I don't know if that's funny or not. But anyway, so there's that. Okay, so there's that. So that's good news. And then, here's the okay. So here's the 5 threats, and it's nothing new, and it's nothing that. Do you ever subscribe to Milk Road? It's a newsletter, crypto
No, I
newsletter
haven't
called
heard that
Milk
before.
Road. Yeah, it's just they're kind of funny because they use this funny milk carton head guy, as their mascot or whatever. But these are the three major headwinds they call them in crypto, or that they see right now. And of course, all the stuff we've been talking about, Mount Gox repayments, that's going to hit, and we're going to see how that works. Here's the other thing that's very compatible to the Mount Gox, and this is all hitting potentially at the same time. When the next upgrade, which is of ETH, or Ethereum, which is called the Shanghai upgrade, that's going to officially unlock all of the staked Ethereum that has been locked up for, I want to say, 4 years, if not 5, but 3 to 4 years, right? And part of this was had been working on their upgrades and moving from proof of work to proof of stake for a long time. And so staking in Ethereum, well, all proof of work staking meant you had to lock up your 32 ETH to become a validator. And because they didn't want people coming in and out of it. If you got in and you could become a validator, you were locked in for years. And early on, they didn't even know exactly. They just said, well, when we get to the next phase of Ethereum. So last year was big, right? When they finally did the big merge, that was great and everything. But now the Shanghai is all that will get unlocked. So the question is, again, just like all this Bitcoin that's going to hit the market, are people going to say, whew, I've been waiting on this, I got to sell this? And is all this sell pressure going to hit Ethereum and Bitcoin at the same time? It's kind of scary. I don't know. I think that the crypto market can sustain that kind of stuff because I don't think everybody will. There'll be a mix of it, and maybe there's going to be a lot of sell pressure. Might go down a little bit, but I'm choosing to believe that we'll be okay. But it is out there. Then you've got Silvergate. We talked about that a little bit. So the bank of the crypto banks, how that's going to play out, that could get worse, or it could be a no thing, right? If they just find other banks. Like Coinbase is already lined up with another bank, but what's going to happen in the next month or two with these banks? Of course, we talked about macroeconomics and regulation. So these are just kind of wrapping up kind of where we were talking about today. These are the sort of the 5 big things that are happening right now with crypto. And, just not to get wrapped up about it, but just to know that it's out there.
Yeah, those are all, like you said, those are each very, very big things. And the Silvergate collapse was very recent, and that's what kind of threw the market down, right? That's what kind
I
of
think so. I don't know. It's interesting because my dad, who's 86, been retired from banking from a long time, so he knows banking, old school banking. He doesn't really have a clue what crypto does, but he still watches it a lot, and we have talks about it. But he's been reading, that Bitcoin went down because of Silvergate and some of this other banking stuff. And I think that is a narrative that's out there in the news, especially the mainstream news. But some of the stuff I'm reading, that goes a little bit deeper, people more into crypto, they're like, yes and no. It's like, we don't know what's going to happen with this banking thing. I mean, it may be a no thing. It may be that they just go out and find other banks, and that's fine. It could be. And I think the nervousness did bring all the markets down. But I just think that it's a combination of that and macro. Unlike FTX or some of those other failures that happened that really rocked things you could just say that's why crypto, fell. I think it's just a combination of everything. And yeah, it doesn't help to have that extra thing about the banks, but it's still unknown. It very well, I'm not hearing anyone say that this is the death of crypto. There's articles out that are just saying this could be a problem. It could shrink things. It could make it harder to be adopted by institutions and so on. But I kind of keep coming back to that whole thing. It's like, I don't know how that's going to affect me personally as a small retail investor. And, we'll just see.
Yeah.
Anyways, unless you got anything else, why don't we wrap her up for today?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. And I think I have the same feeling as you. This is my kind of finishing statement. Like, I feel like the market wants to rally. I think there's a lot of people like us who want to rally. And I think that it's kind of getting through these. I think there's going to be still some turbulence in the next couple of months. But long term always looks great to me. So
there you go. We're just going to end. We're going to just end on that. Well, thanks, Brianna, and stay healthy. And we're getting rid of this winter. It's still snowing here, snowing in Idaho and Montana. So if we can dig out, keep our heads above the snow, and spring's around the corner, man. And it's crypto spring. Can you believe it's daylight savings or whatever? The clock's gonna be set back this weekend. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's fast. It seemed like I got through this. It was my first winter in Montana.
You've been going through it too. Some days you're like, what am I doing? Why am I here?
Yeah. All I got to do though, when the sun peeks out and it hits those peaks on the Rocky Mountains, I'm like, okay, now I know why I'm here.
Yeah, for sure. That's all it takes.
All right. It's all it takes. All right. Well, see you everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.